Kunal Khattar, it's always a pleasure talking to you. Thanks so much for joining us live. The two-wheeler Ola scooter that's going to be delivered today. What does it really mean for the EV landscape? Why is this being seen as such a big development today?
I think it's one of those, the geo moments for EV is what I like to call it. I think what's really important is ultimately we needed some sort of a momentum for people to recognize the importance that, the EV technology is going to play in the overall mobility for a country like India, especially given that our dependence on foreign oil and the kind of price that people are paying. I think EVs are a very clear and elegant solution, both from a affordability standpoint, but also given that India has 19 of the 20 most polluted cities in the world, it is something that whose time has come. And I'm so happy to see launches like both from companies like Bounce that launched the Infinity last week, and with Ola starting delivering vehicles. I think EV is becoming more and more acceptable as an option where customers are looking to buy their first two-wheeler or a replacement vehicle.
In fact, Kunal, since you brought up Bounce, it's also trying to pioneer the unbundling, right? That you do battery swapping, you buy a scooter without a battery, and suddenly it becomes far more affordable, with price tags of almost 40,000 rupees in certain states. In Ola's case, we are also talking of an attractive price point, but the fact is it's still more expensive than your regular two-wheelers. So will the EV revolution be led primarily by B2B, you think?
So I think, the disintermediation of the vehicle and the battery, especially for smaller form factors like two-wheelers, was absolutely critical for accelerating, adoption. And the reason for that was, traditionally, if you were to go and buy a petrol vehicle, you wouldn't want, there was no requirement for you to buy 5 years of petrol in advance or upfront. The minute you distribute or separate the ownership of the two-wheeler from the batteries, it becomes much more affordable. Now, from a use case perspective, I think B2B use cases, given the nature of their work, require uptime, 24/7 uptime, which means that they're a natural use case for battery swapping because they don't even have time for slow charging. So we think battery swapping is definitely going to be very, very important when we talk about the adoption in the B2B use case. But even on the consumer side, where affordability is more important than uptime, I think battery swapping allows the EVs to be affordable to a larger segment of customers. Ultimately, we're talking very small base numbers right now. So there is opportunity to grow for all businesses. But I just feel a strategy that Ola has adopted where they sell their vehicles with the battery, you're probably looking at a TAM or a total addressable market of 1 or 2 million, sales a year. Whereas businesses or companies or products like Bounce, which is separated at a 40,000 entry point, you're probably looking at a TAM of about 10 to 12 million. So ultimately, it all depends on what your overarching strategy is: to be a market leader or to be a premium niche player.
The whole issue of acceptability. The electric vehicles, how easily do you think they would be acceptable by the rural market? Because we are looking at a different audience. The Indian rural two-wheeler buyer is still of the mindset of Sasta Sundar Tikau, fill it and shut it. Can electric vehicles or electric two-wheelers change the mindset? Because when you're buying a two-wheeler, it is about mindset, it is about comfort, and it is also about the whole average and the cost benefit.
Sure. So that's a great question. So if I look at the current form factor, the most popular EV form factor in India today is e-rickshaw, when you think about it. And 80% of e-rickshaws today you'll find running around in rural, semi-rural, semi-urban areas. So there is an acceptability of EVs already that is happening across India. What is important is affordability for sure. And given that EVs are actually 70 to 80% cheaper to operate than traditional ICE vehicles, I think we're going to see faster adoption. That is one. Secondly, Cost of developing different form factors or specific use case of EVs is much lower. If you look at the way traditional ICE OEMs used to manufacture products, it used to take 4 to 5 years and anywhere from 100 to 2,000 crores to build new product launches. EVs, because the number of components are so much smaller, it is much more cost effective and economical to build different product categories or form factors. I think what's going to ultimately happen is you're going to see some OEMs with a focus on targeting rural India, and you're going to have unique products which will cater to the needs of rural India, ultimately prioritizing what is important to rural India over those criterias or priorities which are different to urban India or the urban youth.
Okay, where are you on this incumbent versus innovator debate? We can look at examples like Tesla, where a challenger has challenged the market, but we can also look at how globally in the car market, the incumbents are making a comeback, whether it is a Toyota or whether it is a BMW. Many experts also feel that it are the incumbents who ultimately will come back with electric vehicles. Where are you on that debate?
I think there's opportunity for both, to be honest with you. It all depends on whether you're creating new categories or you're launching products in existing categories. So for every Tesla that's a market leader in the US, you have Tata Motors today, which is a market leader in India in the four-wheeler form factor. I think that what's going to be exciting is that we're going to see a lot of product innovation, whether it's two-wheelers, three-wheelers, four-wheelers, etc. Because the entry barriers today are now significantly lower than they were. Traditionally, OEMs had to spend hundreds of millions of dollars on product development and hundreds of $1 million of setting up manufacturing facilities. Both of those now have been reduced by a factor of 80 to 90%. So you're going to see a number of OEMs that are going to come up. But ultimately, from a consumer perspective, I think brands will always remain important. And therefore, I think there is an opportunity for legacy players to come in because they already have the brand and the distribution, which a new age OEM has to solve for. But I think on B2B use cases, we're probably going to see far more innovative products, and companies that are now, the new age OEMs will probably end up winning as far as B2B is concerned.
Kunal, speaking of OEMs, you're talking of new OEMs coming up, but the traditional ones that we have, you have Bajaj Auto, and I think Rajiv Bajaj's statements on, having these startups for breakfast has been documented very well. You've got Hero, which is trying to ride the EV wave with Ather, where it, has a significant stake. Just, I think a day or two ago, we heard about TVS investing $15 million in a startup called Ultraviolet, which will also be about two-wheelers and EVs. With someone with eyes and ears on the ground.
Going back to my point, I think many of the legacy OEMs, I know they don't like to be called that, but they're incumbents, have realized that, culturally, OEMs have been created to be manufacturalized, that for them to accelerate their EV strategies, they all felt the need to go and invest in a new age technology company that's already built the core base product on the EV side. And so you see a marriage of best of both worlds. You see product innovation coming in from the new age companies, and you see legacy companies that are capitalizing those companies and bringing brand and distribution to the table. So ultimately, it's the customer who's benefiting. He's getting not only new products, better products, faster to the market, but is also getting the comfort of the distribution and the service networks of the legacy companies.
So let's see how all of this pans out. Today it is Ola Electric's big day, 15th August. It launched that scooter, 15 December. It's starting to make deliveries. Has the market really opened up? And of course, when will it reach rural India? The price point is still, of course, quite expensive. Kunal, it's been a pleasure having you. Thanks so much for giving us your time today.
Thank you so much.